Order! Order! You are an incorrigible delinquent at times. Behave yourself, man!
Now then, the wall is the wall and Mexico will pay for it. Remember those words? Donald Trump repeated them this morning, pushing back against his own chief of staff, John Kelly, who suggested that the president's position had evolved. Mixed messages aside, that wall, cuts to legal immigration and extreme vetting of those arriving are all changing lives across America. Warwick O'Brien is in Washington, D.C., where one of Donald Trump's immigration policies is stuck in negotiations on Capitol Hill. Over to you, Warwick.
Matt, the wall, of course, is Donald Trump's big, beautiful political totem pole. And it's easy to get hung up on it. God knows he does. But before we talk about the wall, it's important to also say that behind the scenes, the whole machinery of immigration enforcement is changing here in America. There are more arrests, there are more deportations. So to a large extent, Donald Trump is doing exactly what he was elected to do. But he wants to talk about the wall. Let's talk about the wall. First up, we had his chief of staff yesterday saying the president was uninformed when it came to the feasibility of the wall. Donald Trump, as is his wont, hits back on Twitter, says, no, the wall is the wall. It hasn't changed a jot since the day I conceived it. This latest spat is happening against the backdrop of possible government shutdown here on Friday night, which is connected to disagreement over a budget, which is in turn connected to the scrapping of the DACA program and some of the more draconian immigration policies that Donald Trump wants to implement. That DACA program is to do with the protection of thousands of undocumented young people from deportation, and that is part of the crux of the agreement. It's stalling on two fronts. It's stalling in court, and nobody in Congress seems to have a clue how to move forward with this. But in the middle of all of this, Matt, and it's important to say this, there are thousands and thousands of families stuck in limbo. As is becoming the order of the day here in DC, there is some strong language in my report.
Never again means never again for everyone!
Even in the incongruity of the new American political world order,
And I feel strongly that God and history demands that I'm here.
the sight of a group of rabbis being loaded into police vans on Capitol Hill catches the eye. Why are you doing this?
I'm doing this because we need immigration reform in this country now.
They were born here, and their families and dreamers should be allowed to stay here.
A group called Jews for Dreamers held a sit-in on the Hill. The point demanding clarity from politicians on the fate of the Deferred Action for Childhood Arrival Scheme, or DACA. President Trump wants to scrap it. It's complex, but for the nub of the issue, you could do worse than bump into Senator Bernie Sanders in a corridor near the sit-in.
Under President Obama, we gave legal protection to some 800,000 young people whose parents took them across the border illegally, but who have lived almost all of their lives here in the United States. In September, Trump rescinded that DACA provision. And if we do not get our act together, these 800,000 young people could be subjected to deportation, literally thrown out of the only country that they have ever known.
The future of DACA has become bogged down in politicking. But here is what the logjam means in real life.
Well, I'm actually a dreamer as well.
Itzel is from Mexico, here under DACA. Parents arrived undocumented, younger siblings born here. And is your family genuinely thinking about the prospects of having to split up?
Yes, every day, every day. We've had to fill out power of attorney forms for the younger kids, just in case of deportation.
Is that right?
Yes.
Okay. And how does that make you feel?
It makes me mad, actually. It makes me so mad. Sorry. They see us as they don't see us as people. They see us as economic They only see what we do for this country, money-wise, not actual, like, I don't see them giving us human rights. All I see is them throwing out statistics after statistics about what we do for this country, but that's not all we are.
One example of heartbreak does not good policy make. But with this group of so-called DACA dreamers on Capitol Hill, you at least see what's at stake if you get it wrong.
This is where I belong. I was like 2 years old when I came here, when my parents brought me here.
Lisette is also from Mexico, puts on a brave face for her siblings, who are also dreamers.
It's affecting my younger sisters, like, you know, and it's hard for me to, for us to pretend like everything's okay, and it's not.
You okay? With at least 11 million illegal immigrants in the US, there is, of course, appetite for reform.
On day one, we will begin working on an impenetrable, beautiful southern border wall.
Appetite that won Donald Trump the White House.
There will be no amnesty.
In his first week, he signed 3 executive orders on immigration, like the sudden Muslim travel ban, effective immediately.
Laws, not hate, makes America great.
12 months on, he's dramatically reduced the number of immigrants crossing from Mexico, though the promised wall never materialized, and has increased the numbers of arrests and removals of unauthorized immigrants. He ended his first year as he began, though, in trouble over his attitude about who should be allowed in and who should be kicked out of Trump's America.
We started to describe the immigration from Africa. That's when he used these vile and vulgar comments, calling the nations they come from shitholes.
The bulldozer campaign chants one thing, the delicate business of untangling Obama amnesties another. Langley Park, Maryland, one of the largest populations of Salvadorans in America. Isaias Portillo's children know the stories of him trekking across the desert to get to the US 2 decades ago. The kids don't bat an eyelid when he describes stumbling across human remains in the sand. He now works legally in construction and has temporary protected status, an amnesty scheme for people fleeing conflict or natural disaster. President Trump has scrapped the TPS scheme for 4 countries already because they no longer qualify. But what happens if you're already here, now factoring in deportation?
Sí, es un problema algo grande para mí.
He spoke to us of whole communities contingency planning for life in the shadows. Isaiah's finished by telling us about the fountain at the shopping centre round the corner. A shrine of sorts for Salvadorans. New arrivals take their selfies here to show family back home they've arrived. A Statue of Liberty in plastic and pink.
Warwick O'Brien.